Do we have anybody back there who says lever instead of lever? Do we have any levers instead of levers?
Fat lever.
I'm a lever guy.
Yeah, that's the only example I have. Fat lever.
Okay, so none of you are
Dude,
lever.
fat lever.
All right, which do you say? I wasn't talking to you yet, Sirota. I was introducing you.
He was weighing in.
I understand, but I haven't introduced
You asked
him.
a question.
I know I asked a question of the group, though, but I haven't told the audience who the hell's with us, so they just heard a stray voice, and they've had enough of those around here. God. Every once in a while, a new voice appears, and they don't know who it is, and they really don't like it. So when Sirota makes an appearance, and he's doing real credible journalism at a time it is more endangered, it feels like, than it's been at any point in my lifetime, I would tell everyone listening that he's doing the hardest of work right now, a nonpartisan investigative news site that does an exceptional job of actually holding the powerful to account. He's also got a book that you can get at levernews.com, the handbook for the politically deceased, which I am in the middle of reading. Thank you for joining us, David Sirota. Can you tell me, though, as you watch everything that's happening in America right now, can you just run us through quickly, as someone who is very fact-based, how many American systems you see right now that are failing because of the unprecedented corruption?
I would flip it around and say how many systems are actually succeeding despite the corruption. I think there's very few of them that are actually succeeding right now. I think no matter where you look, corruption is part of the problem bearing down on us in our daily lives. I think take a look at think about an issue that wasn't even discussed in the election: healthcare. I think most people listening, including basically everybody who's not a zillionaire, is one or two medical emergencies away from potentially having a serious financial problem, whether or not you have health insurance. And the healthcare lobby has made sure that wasn't even part of the conversation. We didn't even talk about it in the election. So I think when we talk about corruption, there's cash in envelope corruption, like I have a lot of money, I'm going to buy this congressman's vote. And then there's the corruption that's the money in the system is so endemic, it's so big that the politicians and the political system doesn't even really talk about these issues. And I think that's where you can really see the corruption. I mean, think about the housing crisis, think about the basic affordability crisis. If it's talked about at all, it's often portrayed as, workers are being paid too much. It's not really talked about as corporations are ripping us off. It's not talked about that way in our politics because corporations are the ones who own lots of the media and own lots of the politicians who decide what the parameters of the conversation are. If we're not talking about something in our politics, if it's not a central issue in our politics, even if it's a central issue in our daily lives, that's a product of a system of legalized corruption that buys the entire conversation.
In terms of American systems failing, because you're doing a very good job of covering this, and media is one of the entities I think that is failing, you find which scariest and which most appalling, if it's a different answer?
Yeah, that's a great question. Look, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I go back first and foremost to healthcare. I mean, healthcare premiums continue to go up. The unaffordability of healthcare, even if you are paying those premiums, continues to go up. And by the way, healthcare outcomes continue to be problematic. I mean, our Americans' average lifespan, chronic disease, et cetera, et cetera. So to me, this is the central problem that we all face if you're a human being. And our healthcare system is failing in an epic way, and our political system's refusal to really talk about it or deal with it is a big one. Now, I should mention, I worked on the movie with our mutual friend Adam McKay, Don't Look Up, which was a metaphor in part for climate change. The fact that we know what we need to do to deal with climate change, and we're not actually doing that. We know that we can address this issue through investments in green energy, through reducing our use of fossil fuels. We don't need a magic wand to come up with some amazing technology to do this. The fact that we know we can do it and we're not doing it, knowing what scientists are telling us are the consequences, to me, I mean, that's terrifying on kind of like an existential level. There's the terrifying, I may not survive a healthcare system where I can't afford medical care, and then there's the I'm not sure the human population is going to survive because our system is so corrupt. We're not doing what we need to do to reduce our use of fossil fuels. So those are the two I think I would put out there.
We're all gonna die. Oh boy.
Can you tell me, David, what you make of the present ransacking of the government? Is Trump trying to break everything?
That's a great question. I don't know. It's hard for me to speculate on what Donald Trump's motive is. I would say this. Clearly, the people he is picking for his cabinet are people who, I mean, in some ways, you could look at them as looters. I mean, look at who was just picked to run the Medicare system. It kind of boggles the mind. And we did a big story about Dr. Oz a few years ago when he was running for the Senate. And it's important to remember, he ran on privatizing Medicare. He ran on that. He was a paid spokesman for Medicare privatization schemes, the Medicare Advantage, which is a privatization scheme. Donald Trump, and I should mention, Dr. Oz invests in a big way in the healthcare sector that will benefit from privatizing Medicare. Donald Trump could have picked anybody to run Medicare. He picked that guy, and that's emblematic of the picks that he's making. So I guess one way you could look at it is Donald Trump is picking people to deliberately destroy the last institutions that are still standing in the government. Another way to look at it is that Donald Trump is picking those people because he thinks that destroying those institutions is a way to build new and better institutions. I mean, I guess that's kind of an optimistic way to look at it. I don't really look at it like that. I look at it as there's not necessarily any method to the madness other than tear everything down. And we could go through, the guy who he nominated for Department of the Interior is very close to the oil industry, and that's the job that deals with whether the oil industry can drill on public lands. I mean, you can go through the lists. It is a list of people like that where the conflicts of interest are so absurd, it almost feels like a political cartoon. And I think your question is right. It's hard to determine what the actual motive is other than a lack of care or a deliberate desire to burn everything down.
Linda McMahon, as head of education, made me think that when they're throwing it back to the states on schools, that they want everybody a little bit dumber because, and this is just empirical, the uneducated vote for that party. That's an empirical fact. I'm not having an opinion there that's calling anyone dumb. The less educated you are, the more likely you are to support what's going on right now.
Yeah, I mean, the other way to look at it is that if education is not a big priority among the Republican voters, the Republican electorate, who Donald Trump perceives to be his coalition, that's the kind of move that you would make. I mean, I think Donald Trump, clearly he ran a campaign. We can talk about how his behavior and how he ran on immigration and the like, but I think the central thrust of his campaign was actually what the Democrats used to run on in this way, which was, it's the economy, stupid. I think Donald Trump benefited from the fact that people were understandably and are understandably pissed off about how hard it is to afford anything in the United States. But I think it's worth also mentioning here that I think the Democrats ran a really bad campaign. Let's just throw that out there right now. They ran a bad campaign. They did not try to reach out in a real way to the working class. They did not tell a story about the corporate villains that are actually making people's lives worse. Donald Trump told a villain story about people who aren't villains, immigrants, Democrats, liberals, academics, right? But he at least told a villain story. But I think the point is that we are now have seen the 4 out of the last 5 elections were it's the economy stupid elections. Think about it. The 2008 financial crisis, Obama wins on that message. 2016, after 10 million people have been foreclosed on, people are pissed off about the growing affordability crisis in the aftermath of the financial crisis. That's it's the economy stupid election. 2020, people are obviously pissed off about the pandemic, depression, et cetera, et cetera. Another election like that. And then 2024. My point is that people keep voting for change. And by the way, the only reason I think it skipped in 2012 was because the Republicans basically nominated Gordon Gekko as their nominee. Mitt Romney looked, I mean, if you wanted to come up with a political cartoon of a greedy Wall Street guy, that would be your guy. I think Obama got lucky. But I think my point is, we're in an environment where the population continues to vote aggressively for change, and Donald Trump benefited from that. But I'm not sure it means that there's this paradigm shift unless the Democrats simply throw up their hands and say, you know what? All of Donald Trump's voters are deplorables. We can never reach them, and we should just ignore them and insult them. I think that's wrong. I think it's immoral. I think it's a bad political strategy. But I think the Democratic Party has to say, listen, we can reach those voters, but we have to tell a real story about what's going on in the economy. They keep talking about here's what we can do to fix this or that, but they don't tell a story about, for instance, we go back to healthcare. You rarely ever hear the Democrats talk about the healthcare corporations are the problem. The insurance companies are the problem in the healthcare system. The Democrats don't want to do that because they don't want to piss off their healthcare industry donors. The problem for that party is they're caught between voters who want things and donors who they want money from. And so the party often sounds completely incoherent and talks only about a very small set of issues. And the party does not name the actual villains that we all know are bearing down on us.
I want the people to hear from me again on this, Stugotz, because journalism is very much under threat, and even the credible newspapers are scared of Donald Trump when they have billionaire owners like Bezos. So what this man does at The Lever, a nonpartisan investigative news site that's just going to basically, they're doing very difficult work, very thorough work, and they're growing, at least in part, because most people don't trust the media right now. And this is a nonpartisan, fact-based thing that he is doing that people should support if they're interested in accurate information and journalism.
They are seeking out the truth, and I'm wondering, Dave, has the pursuit of the truth, has that become exhausting? Because it seems like no one cares about the truth anymore.
I'm so glad you asked this question, because yes, it really is exhausting. And I will be honest with you, there are days that I wake up and I'm like, I don't even want to get out of bed because, like, what does it even matter? Like, you see this poster right here from our movie, Don't Look Up. That was the mini joke in the movie. And the mini joke was that the asteroids headed towards Earth, and the population is so distracted that it doesn't actually care about the asteroid headed towards Earth. In fact, there's going to be a mini movie in the movie where they're going to do a asteroid headed towards Earth movie release on the day that the comet actually hits the Earth. So that's a long way of saying some days I feel like that, where it's like, why are we actually reporting the truth if nobody actually cares about the actual truth? And look, I end up getting up every day and doing the work because ultimately you have to, you got two choices. You can walk into the ocean and say, forget it, and nothing's worth it. It's all pointless. Or you can say, listen, if you keep putting the truth out there, verifiable facts, and we write our articles, you don't have to trust us. You can click the links to see the source material, to see whether we're right or wrong, right? You have to believe that at some baseline level, that the truth still does matter. I mean, we certainly know, I should mention, we certainly know that reality matters. And I what I mean by that is climate change is happening, for example, whether we want to admit that it's happening or not. Climate change is human caused, whether people want to admit that or not. That's true. The science, what's actually happening in the world, doesn't care about whether we care about the truth. It's going to happen. So I guess the point of doing this work is to try to make the truth actually matter, to try to make reality actually matter, even if we can distract ourselves from it. But look, I hear you, right? There's some days where I wake up and I'm like, I don't even want to read the truth. Like the truth is so sometimes so crushing. I want to look away, but we can't look away.
We're all gonna die.
David, there's another option. You can just watch football, relax a little.
Yeah.
Well, I watch the Nuggets. I watch the Nuggets,
That's fine.
and by the way, that's an up and down experience. I'm like, sometimes I think they're amazing, other times they're pissing me off. Like Jamal Murray has got to get with the program. Like seriously.
Wow.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Does Jamal Murray need to get with the program? I mean,
He
serious.
needs to get it together.
All
like
right,
I love
get
him.
That on the poll.
That
Okay.
escalated.
This explains why he was so interested in Fat Lever before.
I am.
Stugatz, by the way, just gave me in my ear such phony, such insincere sorrow. He's like, poor Sirota, still out here fighting.
I mean, this guy is waking up every day fighting the
That's
good
right.
fight. No
That's
one
right.
cares.
It's the good
I mean-
fight, but he keeps losing.
You know what? I take inspiration from Jokic. He gets there. He doesn't make a big deal out of it. He just pounds away at it. Not that I'm a journalist at the level of what Jokic is as a basketball player, but I seriously am like deeply connected to the Nuggets in a way that's unhealthy, and I'm proud of it.
Okay, but you should know there's
Fat
another
Lever.
option beyond football and the walking out into the ocean. You could just sit there, fight for the truth, and the ocean soon enough will come to you.
Just
That's
watch
true.
football.
That's a
Just
good. That's
just
although
watch
I'm in
football.
Colorado.
It's coming there too. Wait a minute. You think there's going to be land on this planet that's not going to be covered by water? That's funny,
True.
Sirota.
It's true.
All right.
That's true.
Yeah, that is a truth that makes you want to not get up in the morning. See you later, Sirota. Thank you for all the bleakness.
Thanks, guys.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
day.
Thank you for all the gloom.
This episode of the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugatz is presented by Smirnoff. We do game days. Please drink responsibly. The Smirnoff Company, New York, New York.
Start of the day, start of the day, it is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day, it is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day, it is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day, it is the start of the day.
So it's time to celebrate Nikola Jokic, because headed into yesterday, and this is a two-parter, the best offensive rating in a single season in NBA history was 123.2. The Nuggets, with Nikola Jokic on the floor this season, have a 125.8 offensive rating. But even better, the worst offensive rating in NBA history is 92.2. And without Nikola Jokic on the floor, the Nuggets had an 86.3 offensive rating. So without him, the worst offense of all time. With him, the best offense of all time.
Well, I was scared earlier this month to just make the proclamation that this is the best basketball player ever, that statistically,
Stop it.
empirically, it's going to be hard to argue that anyone has played basketball more productively than this man has. But let's go out to Mike Malone here on the Jokic minutes, because, again, he's noticed this. He notices that he's a bad coach when Jokic isn't in the game, and they're bad at offense, and he's bad at coaching offense when he's not in the game, and then he's the best coach ever at offense when Jokic is in the game.
It's Michael Malone. That's a fine. He
Yep.
does not like to be called Mike.
I don't believe that's a fine. I don't believe I should be fined for calling Michael Malone Mike because he doesn't like it. He's got to win more championships than the one that he's got for me to make it Michael official.
You
Okay,
just
Danny.
you just made Jokic the best player in NBA history. He's won one.
He's underachieved with Jokic.
Wow.
He's got the
Good
best
pivot.
he's got the best player I've
Great
ever
pivot.
seen.
Proud
Why
of
is
you.
it? Why is he only won one?
Wow, Stugatz is rubbing up on you.
Let's
It only took 20 years.
Let's listen
My
to
God.
to Michael Malone when he is asked about playing Jokic so many minutes.
To apologize to Nicole when you have to play him so many minutes for such a stretch of games.
No, man. You see his paycheck? You see his paycheck? I mean, come on, man.
Let's also listen to Jokic here. And
I love this sound.
I quoted this sound before, but I didn't play this sound of him trying to remember the last time he had a bad game and then the correction that arrives when he thinks he had a bad game.
Have you had any bad nights this year?
I think who played second game and we lost?
Clippers here, 41.
Oh no.
Oh no.
When was my bad game? What was that second game we lost? You had 41. Oh, nope, can't think of one.
Was he actively trying to look like Gru from the Minions for like a good amount of time? Because he looked exactly like him there.
He did do that during the playoffs last year and as part of the marketing campaign.
No, he's keeping it going.
You know, they let him keep the wardrobe.
I wanted to ask Amin and Izzy, now that I've got them here, because we have not talked about this at all. I know they've talked about it on Oddball, and I imagine they'll talk about it on Basketball Illuminati. The Cavs start the season 15-0. If you do that, you're generally playing for the championship. In the history of the sport, if you're good enough to win 15 games to start a season, we'll see you later in the season, and you're going to be playing the latest games. I badly wanted to see Jokic against the Celtics. I wanted the Celtics to have to beat somebody that had championship pedigree.
The best ever?
I mean, I just wanted I wanted to see them have to dethrone somebody versus just sitting there and waiting for injured teams to come their way. But the thing that I wanted to ask Izzy and Amin is, I've liked Mobley since he got into the league. And so you've got, in Allen, Garland, and Mobley, you've got a really strong three, and then Donovan Mitchell on top of that. That's a strong four, but I feel like Mobley's got to be your best player in order for you to be a team that challenges Boston. That Donovan Mitchell can take all the shots late, but that you have to eliminate some of the use, or what they've done this year, really. You guys correct me because you're more into the scheming than I am, but I would imagine that so much more offense is running through Mobley now, and that they're using him so much more like Bam Adebayo, that you limit the inefficiencies in Donovan Mitchell's usage rate such that they are by just going to a player who can be more efficient. Do you guys disagree with that? That for the Cavs to actually be what they represent right now, Mobley has to be their most productive, most trusted player, and then you take Donovan Mitchell, and anytime you need a bailout, you use him.
Dan, when they started the season 5-0 or 6-0 or something, I said that. I said, I don't think they scratched the surface of how good they can be. And everyone's like, what do you mean? I'm like, because Mobley still is. Mobley and Bam is actually a very good comp. It's like those guys that were waiting. Dude, if you ever reach that point where you're that Giannis level of, not Giannis productivity, but Giannis level of, man, F this, give me the ball, get out of my way, then that takes their team to another level. I don't know if that's going to happen. 15 games in, as I watch Mobley, I don't know if he's ready to take that leap yet, but they are running stuff through him, and he is facilitating a lot more than he used to in a Bam Adebayo type of way.
Yeah, I don't think we're ever, and I'm sort of in your shoes here when it comes to my opinion on Mobley in comparison to Bam. Like, your thoughts about Bam before, I don't think he's going to have that offensive mindset to just try to take over. I still don't see it in him. I see him being more of the complementary player who will dominate in games in a way that you maybe don't notice, but I still don't think of him as, hey, I'm going to get 30 and 12 on 15 shots, and trust me, you're going to be good. I think this requires Donovan Mitchell, at least at a playoff level, requires Donovan Mitchell to be absolutely great.
Well, and the difference between the Cavs and the Heat and the construction around these two players is the Cavs have two guards in Garland and Mitchell who play in different spaces of the floor than Bam does. Where Bam's been trying to do this his whole career is alongside Jimmy Butler, who offensively is occupying some of those same spaces. So this allows Mobley to open up his game in a way that is tremendous. And if you look at the usage rate across the team, I believe it's 30% usage rate for Mitchell, 26 for Garland, 22 for Mobley. That's kind of evening things out from where they've been.
Sure. My argument against Bam is that even when Jimmy's not there, he still does not step up into that vacuum. He still plays the same type of style, and that's the difference. But also, I would argue, Dan, when you look at how the Cavs have played, and Donovan Mitchell's been sensational this year, and Garland's been great, and they credit that also to Mobley. That Mobley has allowed them to kind of play a freer style that does not involve pounding the rock as much. So the impact is there. It's not quite as in-your-face apparent as we want it to be, which is 30 and 12, like Izzy said, but the impact is there offensively for them.
The thing with Bam, though, that you mentioned is like just the other night, right? They're running actions where it's Bam, Duncan, and Tyler all playing off of each other. And they're running actions with all three of them with Jimmy out of the game. And what happens? Bam erupts for 30 points and 12 rebounds himself. So he's able to have those types of games when you're running those actions that way and creating some space. It's all just about roster construction, and that's why the Cavs are set up for success here.
I'll say it. This Cavs team, worst team to ever start 15-0.
No doubt about it. And it guarantees nothing. I'm telling you, the Capitals in 1948-49, they started 15-0, did not win the Cup.
I can't believe you went there.
They went to the finals, though.
They did.
Which is Dan's point.
I mean, the Warriors, 24-0, 2015-16, they
win.
made it to the finals, did not win.
I mean, Dan, you have to think that this team's not that good when they've got your boy Niang out there doing it and playing 30 minutes.
I love my pear-shaped Niang. He'll go out there and give you 5 threes. He's putting up the shots whether he goes over 5 or 5 for 5. I do have a trouble trusting the Cavs because of how thoroughly their front line kept getting dismantled by that old Knicks team.
Mitchell Robinson. Whew, what a series.
Because I was confused. The thing that made me think the Cavs are better this year than they were last year and the last few years is they went into Madison Square Garden against these new, not gritty Knicks. Right. And all of a sudden, it's not Mitchell Robinson taking them out. But I don't believe that there can be a lot of quieter 15-0 starts than the one that the Cavs have had, at least in part because I don't think anyone listening to this will believe that that can be a core that can sustain that in a way that would have them have 75 wins, finish 75 at the pace they're on. I'm just doing this in my head, but it's like 75-5 or something like that is where it is that they would end up, even though there are 82 games. I've got 2 forfeits in there because the math is confusing to me.
That's weird, but 15 out of 16 is what you're saying.
Yeah, but I'm saying at this pace, I don't think anybody believes this pace is real, and I would ask Izzy and Amin, do you? Because they go into Boston. This would be a classic Stugatz good loss. You go into Boston, you're playing against the champions, and you lose by a bucket.
It's also a champion reminding you that, hey, we're the champions. Get through us. Did you see Big Al last night?
Wake up call.
Oh, what a
Another
game.
sort of sign when I was watching the game last night with Mobley and man, I mean, Darius Garland is shooting 50% for the year, but yesterday was awful. Yeah. Finished 3 for 21. And in the end, who was out there taking more shots? It was him, not Evan Mobley.
Or Donovan Mitchell. The other thing I want to point out is those 48-49 Washington Capitals that Stugatz mentioned started 15-0.
Yeah.
They finished the season 38-22, meaning they went 13-22 after that 15-0. Yeah. You know who coached them?
Who?
Some bum named Red Auerbach.
What?
I want to get into with you guys some of the stuff happening about around inside the NBA. I know Charles Barkley's not going to be happy at all about working for ESPN and not having control over it.
He's not. This is the caveat, right? I can't wait. We talk to Samson tomorrow, right? I can't wait to ask him about this. I've never seen. It was like a 3-team trade. You get a settlement. And part of the settlement is someone else is coming in and say, hey, we'll take the high salaried players, older players over here. But the show is going to be produced, created, shot all by Turner in the Atlanta studio with their staff, with their people. And it's no different than ESPN airing the McAfee show. Just like, hey, here's the show. All you do is hit a button and it's live. Now the question is, how much feedback can ESPN give back after the fact? How much feedback will they receive? Meaning, a great example of this. Last night, we have this two great games on TNT. Cavs, Celtics, and then Spurs and Thunder, where the Spurs won without Victor Wembanyama. Chris Paul had to turn back the clock night, right? The first thing they come out from is Charles and Kenny talk about, Kenny said, I showed Charles how to use an ATM because he's never used an ATM in his life. And then Shaq says, I've never used an ATM either. And then they start arguing about how's that possible. And Charles said, because we're black. Like, we didn't have any money until we had millions of dollars, so I didn't have to ever go to an ATM. And they spent like a strong 5 minutes talking about using an ATM until, like, Ernie's like, I didn't know that's how we were going to start the show tonight. I thought we'd start with these games or whatever. So, which, by the way, hold on. Can you imagine never using an ATM ever? Like Shaq does not know.
Dan's worst nightmare.
I still use one, and I feel so lonely going through them. I feel like I'm going through an old west town.
I've seen you go into a bank.
I've walked into a bank as well. Yes, he laughs. Listen to me. Listen.
What are you doing there?
He's laughing hysterically.
Like saying hi to the workers? What are you doing?
No idea.
I've got Dan filling out the withdrawal slip. Not even an ATM. You pull out paperwork and give it to him.
All right, so why am I in the bank instead of at the ATM? Why?
That much money, huh? My man.
Because I need more cash than the ATM puts on its limits.
On your daily limit?
My daily limit is frustrating, and
Tootsies,
I need
here I come.
more cash.
Why do you need so much cash?
I think you can increase your limits.
Billy, in order to make the cash phone call thing, you need a lot of cash to do this. You can't do it with like $200.
Is that why?
I'm laughing at Chris with the ATM advice of you being able to raise your limits.
It's just an email. Like, hey, I'd like my limits to go up a little.
I emailed a private banker. And I don't know how many.
If it was one of those little things in the corner, that's not a real person. That's like an AI thing. Like they make it like Clippy, the old paper clip. That wasn't just a you thing.
Thank you, Billy. I appreciate all of your private banker expertise. The thing that I was doing was trying to get it to $1,000 instead of $600. I think $600 is the normal limit, and I needed more than that to pay an assortment of people in cash because I like doing it the good old-fashioned American way. Get your computers and your technology. Here you go.
See the money.
Well, but and here's another thing that happens when you give people that money. Then all of a sudden they have that money with no record of how it is that they got that money, and there's no paper trail.
What are we implying?
I'm just
what are you
saying.
talking about?
I'm just saying I'm giving people cash because I want it to come with no strings attached. You just grab it and you take the strings off of it and you go elsewhere with your cash.
Is this a Jay Leno situation where you're in gambling debt?
Or a hush money situation.
Look at how much I get fined around here. I'm the
that?
only
We're
one.
the mob.
I'm the only one paying the fine. In fact, if I pulled, let's see here, I'm going to bet me here. If I pulled everyone in this office on the amount of physical cash that everyone's got combined, I'm going to have more than that in my wallet.
Well,
Right?
you're
I've got
taking out
$0.
$1,000 a day. So
Combined?
yes.
Hold on, let's do this. Yeah, let's do
But
this.
between everybody, I'm not even talking about you guys.
What
I'm talking
wallet?
about everybody
I'll do
who
this.
works here,
I
the
have
amount
0.
of cash that
Zero.
they have.
What's a wallet?
Amin, do you have any cash whatsoever?
Typically, I have like $20 on me, but today's 0.
Let me see here.
This is an eternal frustration for me.
Billy has Dan going to the ATM every day, get $1,000.
Well, that's what he said.
That's what he said.
No, that is
Yeah,
not
me
what I
too.
said. No, I just
Oh,
said I wanted the daily limit to be larger than $1,000.
The
I got-
control room has like $10, I think. That's
Yeah,
like Gino Fuentes.
I have $8, 6 singles, and the rare $2 bill.
Oh, wow.
Maybe Dan stole the fine bucket. He's the only one with cash.
Cash.
Yeah.
He's been recycling it this whole time.
You know, not talked about the advancement of ATMs where you could choose the bills.
$10 bills.
Loved it.
Game
I love a
changer.
good 50.
Do you let the
$10 bill.
ATM decide, or you choose it
It
yourself?
used to decide for you.
Right.
You decide for yourself.
You
So
have to decide.
You got to do a little potpourri. Let me get 150,
Right.
120,
A little bit of everything.
2 10s,
Yeah.
a 5 singles.
I also, by the way, they don't give singles. At least mine don't. I wish, but like I also try to do accounting where I if I'm going to the ATM, the money's basically spent. Like I know what I'm spending it on, and then I'm trying to figure out like what's the best way to do this. And it's usually, by the way, barbershop. Like as I don't like asking for cash back when I give them when I pay for my haircut, the tip. But I also I don't want to give a extra $10 to a tip if it's only giving me 20s. You know what I mean?
How much is the haircut?
It's a We
What
don't
do you
need to get
mean?
it.
Is
It's
it
a whole.
fluid?
It's an easy question.
They've gotten more expensive.
You're going to no comment, Stugotz,
Well, no.
on content we're making?
Well, it's just
you know what?
It's
No,
tricky.
just-
I can answer. It's just
No,
a
hold
tricky
on.
situation.
Let's hear him out. I'm willing to hear him out.
I feel your frustration.
It's a tricky situation.
He just gave me a no comment.
I didn't. I comment. It's just
he
a
gave
tricky
it to
situation.
me, and you're more frustrated than I am. But
I-
let's hear him out.
I feel
Because
like
we're doing a show together,
Well, I'm
and I
trying to
need
get
the
to it.
answer as opposed to no comment. And I don't want to badger an employee for something
Well,
more
we're
than a
here.
no comment.
You were happy when you couldn't hear him before. I mean,
it's a tricky situation.
Now you know why.
It started at $12. I was getting my $12 haircuts on Bird Road at Styles and Cuts, just the letter N, Styles and Cuts. But I didn't have like a set barber there, so then it became kind of we were playing
Barber
Russian.
Roulette.
Russian roulette with
Yeah.
the situation.
It's
and-
Barber Roulette.
Yeah, okay, Barber Roulette. Well, they were Russian. so-
Unless you're in a Russian barber shop.
Yeah,
I
they were
suppose.
Russian barber. The old Russian barber shop on Bird Road.
Billy
What a game.
walking.
I mean,
That's Batard.
There are lots of Russian names in,
Do you
in
realize
Cubans.
how funny it is that you're paying for a haircut the same amount that my father's been paying for his haircut with the same barber since 1970?
Well, that's what I was paying, and then I found a new barber shop because I wasn't like there was no reliability here. The barbers were getting older. I was like, you know what? I'm a youngish man. The 80-year-old's cutting my hair. We're going with an 80-year-old hairstyle here. So then I found another barber that I selected strictly because he has the same first name as me. So I went to that barber. And then he had a situation where he left the barber shop. And then when he left the barber shop, I went with him because I liked the haircuts I was getting. But then the price changed at the new barber shop because of their rules. They had a strict
He didn't
thing.
grandfather you in?
For a little bit. I felt bad because I saw the listed price, so I was paying him that.
Yeah.
And then he's like, by the way, next month I have to raise the price, the listed price. But it's fine because like you're already paying that. But like a decision was made for me. I'm going to be paying more for haircuts now.
are you going to tell us the price?
I started at $12. Now it's $35 for a haircut. Yeah, plus tip.
Tripled in
That's what I'm saying. Daddy's not getting his haircut as often now.
By the way, I went out there in the room. Roughly 17 people out there. They have about $340.
Wow. No, it's Bimmel's here. It's Bimmel.
Yeah, Bimmel is
I
out
told you. I knew it. I knew it.
Bimmel was only like 60 of it, though.
So are you guys? Oh, I think you got me beat. I've got $220 on me.
Yeah,
So
that's
the
a
group-
fine.
You didn't go to the bank
Yeah, you got
today,
to turn
huh?
that in as a fine. It's all
Things are adding up. He has cash on him all the time. He was late to work today. He's missing $800.
What do you guys
Mob
do
ties.
with airport baggage handlers now? Do you guys go
checks?
from?
I listen to you
We've
guys.
been over
Who
this.
checks
man.
luggage?
We do our own stuff. We take it to the person.
counter.
They take it for us, and I don't have to tip anybody.
In the instances where you have to give a valet or a baggage handler money the way you used to give them money, you guys are telling me that many of these valets now have Venmo and Zelle and everything
Just happened
else.
to me last night.
But airport baggage handlers,
$5.
Where? But what $5 from where? What $5?
Dan,
Strong thank you.
What's your Venmo?
Dan, I'm telling you right now, I haven't used a baggage handler in like 25 years. And not because I don't check bags. I don't check bags. But when I do check bags,
get
it's
it
like Izzy
myself.
said, you go right inside. It made it so easy. You just scan your boarding pass. It says, how many bags do you have? I said, 2.
Then you drop
Boom.
it off.
Then the 2 stickers come out. I don't even put the stickers on. I just go up to the counter, hand them the bags.
You're making a 3-week trip and you've got 50 pounds of luggage. What are you giving the handler in cash? That handler is just losing their money, right?
I'm not
You're no
using
longer
a
giving
handler. I'm not using a handler.
Are you talking about the curbside
That's the
handler? Because
only-
no one uses that.
Nobody uses that.
No, he's saying
Except for you.
He's saying a guy that meets you at baggage claim, takes your bags off the thing, puts them on
I'm
a
talking
thing,
about
and then
there-
takes them
there
out to
are
the car
dozens
for you.
of people on the curb that are employees
Right.
that used to get cash.
Have you noticed that they're not helping anybody
It's
these
usually
days because
handy-
nobody uses
It's
them?
usually handicapped people, like people within wheelchairs and stuff.
Now, it's, you know what it is? It's also people who, I had a friend who was trying to tell me this, and I'm like, oh, because the line is shorter outside. And I'm like, no, it's not. There's no line inside. There's no line. They've got you fooled. They've got you brainwashed. Big baggage handler has you believing, Dan, that this is the only way.
Before we get into the post-game show, I need to tell people again about our watch party that we're doing tomorrow night. I don't know if we've had... I think everyone's going to be there. I can't speak for Stugotz, but outside of Stugotz,
Yeah.
I know Mike's going to be there. I know Dan's going to be there. I know Amin's going to be there. I know I'm going to be there. I know Billy's going to be there. I know Jess is going to be there. And I know Jeremy's going to be there.
How about your dad?
Greg Cody also is riding with me.
Huh?
The crew is going to be out at Flanagan's
Nice.
tomorrow. Miller Lite is sending us there. It's Thursday Night Football. It's Browns versus Steelers. And it is at North Miami Beach Flanagan's, 13205 Biscayne Boulevard. It's our watch party. It tastes like Miller time, and it's going to be a good time. And you know the best part about it is?
What?
We got a cold front coming in. It's going to be good weather.
yes.
They have plenty
Love
of
a good cold
This,
front.
this location has plenty of parking, so if you're thinking about coming out, come on out. Watch me crush rib rolls.
It's the rare time when we're asking you to come out, hang out with us, hang out at Flanagan's, have Miller Lights. It's not for the football.
I mean, it is for the football, though. Like, honestly.
It's for us, Miller Lights, and Flanagan's.
It's going to be
okay?
a sneaky good game, though, I'm telling you.
I have no
Really?
idea who's playing.
Huh.
I'm so excited, but this is going to be special for me for one reason. Never been to Flanagan's before. Seen the green cups. Heard you guys talk about it. Never been.
Right.
Dude, it's going to be a time. So come on out. Make sure to join us. Jeremy can't stop talking about Damian Lillard being worse than Tyler Herro.
I mean, he is.
That's just...
It is funny, right?
Is that where we've gotten with Damian Lillard? I'm going to be honest. Basketball season doesn't really start for me till January. Haven't done a lot of watching.
February.
Yeah, when football's done.
Christmas, you don't even. You know,
That's like my preseason. I'll check in on the teams around Christmas.
That's cliche, man.
But is this true? Have we seen the best of Dame Lillard? I mean, in all honesty.
The best of them, of course we have. The best of them, was in Portland. Yeah, even when he got traded before he played a game for the Bucks, I think we all knew you're not going to get the Damian Lillard from 2019.
The height of Dame Lillard's powers was Western
Conference Finals
or semifinals where he waved the team off.
Oh no, that was first round. That was first round.
That was the height of his powers.
No, the
right?
height of his powers was Western Conference Finals, and it ended when Andre Iguodala stole the ball. And then ran into the hallway, and he was screaming at the cameras, "These motherfuckers are crazy!" And it took me a minute to realize that the motherfuckers in question were his hands. He was talking about his own hands. They're crazy.
The thing that's been amazing about the difference between the two of them is that what Tyler Herro's doing, statistically, they're right around the same in terms of general output. I think Damian Lillard averages more assists per game. Tyler Herro averages more rebounds per game. They're right neck and neck in points. But Tyler's shooting 45% from three. He's shooting just about 50% from the field. Damian Lillard's shooting 32% from three. And the difference is, and this is sort of the sneaky part, Tyler Herro has been a serviceable defender thus far this season, where Damian Lillard is one of the biggest turnstiles in the NBA. And there's a decade difference between the two of them. Tyler Herro's only 24 years old, despite feeling like he's been around for 15 years.
Let me ask you this question legitimately. You think if Damian Lillard played here, his defense would remain as bad? And that his shots...
It's a great question.
The shots he'd get
Well,
would
what
be
do you
as bad?
think, Amin?
No, I think Damian Lillard would be a lot better here.
Do you think that the shot quality would be much higher than it is right now, and just purely based off of the way they run offense?
Yes, because Miami would run an offense. Would run an offense specifically to take advantage.
Well, the offense that right now they're basically running for Tyler Herro. Like the difference is that they finally this offseason decided to become one of these teams that sometimes is 5 out, but really more importantly is just emphasizing, hey, get a bucket at the rim, which they struggle to do in terms of finishing, or get a 3-point shot. It's the reason Bam and Jimmy have both felt uncomfortable at times thus far because they operate in the mid-range, but it's benefited Tyler Herro more than anybody else. He's been really sensational for them, and it's because he has this green light. I mean, seeing him late in games do the things that Dame does and used to do, which is, hey, late in the game, we're down 10, and I'm just going to go start taking threes like Dame or Steph or anybody else and getting my team single-handedly back into the game. That's the part that's been impressive.
Yeah, and I think this is the growth. He's improved. He's worked on his game. But I like to attribute it to something different. The haircut.
Buzz cut Herro. It does matter.
As soon as he got all that product out of his hair, guess what? More time.
That's a good point.
More time for basketball.
Can I do a callback to earlier in the show? We discussed Delta. No, we're not going back to Myra. Delta.
Still talking.
Delta has Shake Shack. Do you think that other airlines are having meetings today, trying to partner up with other fast food
Here's
joints?
the question we need to be asking
American
ourselves.
Airlines, Taco Bell, let's go.
No way.
We need to be asking this question today. Would you fly Spirit Airlines if they were the only airline that had a deal with Shake Shack?
Or what restaurant would get you to fly Spirit?
Chick-fil-A.
Oh,
really?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Not on Sundays though, or would it be on the flights on Sundays?
No, the flights are canceled on Sunday too.
Right.
That's how that works.
It's Spirit.
Like in partnership, like Spirit's
Chick-fil-A doesn't have an airline.
Well, Spirit, neither Spirit.
Didn't Hooters have an airline?
Yes, they did.
They had a hotel in Vegas.
What a time.
Yeah, what a time.
An airline's a hotel.
Yeah.
They got too big, too fast.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
What's up, everybody? It's Mike, and it's the holiday season. It's approaching anyways, and the holiday season means family gatherings. You're going to be hosting your family, opening up your doors to, let's face it, potentially some problems. There's always family disagreements and things up for debate. Well, let me tell you something that's not up for debate. The great taste of Miller Lite. In these polarizing times, it's good to have something that we can find general consensus on, and that is that beautiful white can, Miller Lite. Is awesome. It makes any time a Miller time, and it's got tastes that you know that you can depend on. A beer that is brewed for people who actually like the taste of beer. And let's not forget, simple ingredients and the fact that Miller Lite is only 96 calories, folks. That's right, and just 3.2 grams per 12 ounces. Making memories at year-end gatherings, I ask you? Well, make those memories taste like Miller time. Go to MillerLite.com/Dan and find delivery options near you. Or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere that they sell beer. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. Fewer calories and carbs than premium regular beer.